All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Missionaries, Moms, and Mondays. And I'm here with a very special friend, Michelle Gifford. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, this is conversation. It's needed, and I get to hang out with you, so we win.
That's well, Michelle and I had the opportunity to meet and realize we should have met a long time ago, and we should live a lot closer because we're two little peas in a pod sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Well, Michelle, for those of you who don't have the opportunity to know Michelle, which is unfortunate in your life, let me make sure you get an opportunity. Michelle is a wife and a mom of a future missionary son with a mission call. And that's a most important on this call. So, first and foremost, tell us where your son's going.
He's going to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, speaking Spanish, and he leaves in July.
So it is coming up for you. So this topic is the real deal. Michelle is also a social media expert. She works in Instagram, owns her own agency, and helps women find the mic and step up and take their rightful and needful place in their home, in their own personal life, and in their business if they own one. And so, Michelle, it's been a pleasure to learn from you over the years, and so excited to have you on here. This Missionary Moms and Mondays platform is a passion project of mine. It is something I've had a sister missionary that has come home, an elder that is currently out, and have had the opportunity to work with and train so many others. And just as moms, we cannot be prepared enough for how this rocks our world and theirs. So we like to get on here and answer specific questions that our missionaries are facing in real time with real tangible tools. And today's question that came in online is, what can I do to help my missionary if they are struggling to get up in the morning? So as we
Oof.
know, they get out there, they've got these new mission rules, right? And one of them is bedtime and wake time. And so I'm going to just toss the question over to you, Michelle. You're about to have a son. He's about to change his whole life and his whole schedule and his whole routine. And what can moms do if their missionary is struggling to get up in the morning?
All right, first of all, you're not there, so you can't squirt him with water. You can't drag him out of bed, right? Like, this is a moment where we have to, like, we are helping them be self-sufficient. So, one of the things is that we need to not panic, right? This isn't forever. Do you ever feel like, when you're sick and you're like, I can't even remember when I was well. I can't remember when I didn't have a cold. And that's actually what happens, right? When
Mhm.
we're like, I can't even remember a time when I could get up in the morning. So we have to take a breath and just know, like, this isn't forever. This is a completely new routine. This is a completely different lifestyle. And the missionary and you as a mom or dad, whatever, you're not broken. No one's broken here. We just have some things to figure out. So if you need to tell yourself, like, it's fine, it's fine. And then we're going to take a breath and then we're going to look for then we are going to ask some questions because we have to get pretty curious about what's happening here. And curious over accusing, right? Like we do not want to say, are you not going to bed on time? Are you not
Right.
exercising? Because then that places you in the mom role. And what we really want you to be is someone that supports and helps them become independent, right? We want them to be able to do this on their own. So I would say we've got to get really curious and ask some questions. Like, tell me about what you did yesterday. You couldn't sleep this morning. I mean, you couldn't get out of bed this morning. So, like, tell me what happened yesterday and get very, very, like, keep asking questions until you find some, because you're going to get some hints. This isn't just happening. They're not, it's not a fluke in who they are, right? There are some things that are not happening that are causing them to not be able to get out of bed. So, some of the things, do you have something to say to that?
No, I was just gonna say, I love that you brought up the point of ask questions with curiosity, not judgment. And I think if we can remember, else we will so frequently get, okay, well, what kind of questions do I ask? So as we get into this, love to hear the kinds of questions that you would ask. Love that we started with, hey, well, what happened yesterday? Just talk to me about your day. What other kinds of questions would you ask that they can ask with curiosity to give them that insight, to find those
Yeah.
clues, as you said?
So I think we're going to figure out like what does their day look like because okay, I'm thinking about my son who's going to be in Wisconsin and it is going to be freezing for a large part of the year. And so is he going to be able to get out and exercise? I don't know. And our physical activity the day before helps us be able to sleep and get to sleep, right? And if
Right.
we're not doing physical activity, then it's going to be hard, and we might just be laying in bed even though lights are out, and so we can't get to sleep. And then is it 6:30? Is that when everyone, I don't know,
Six
6:30 rolls
30.
around.
Yeah.
6:30 rolls around and it's like I hardly slept at all and I didn't have restful sleep. And so there's we need to but guess what? There's we're Our missionaries are not put in ideal circumstances. So I have another missionary nephew who is in the Congo, and they have to be in their homes at dark because of safety reasons, right?
Mhm.
And then maybe someone because it's cold, like my missionary is going to be, or, there's so many reasons that are just not ideal living conditions. And
Right.
so we have to teach them that like what we do the day before affects how we sleep and our ability to get up in the morning. So I would ask questions about that. Like, hey, have you been outside? Like, tell me, like, what did you actually do today? And then say, oh, like, what did you do that was active? Like, was there something that you guys did? It's just like, I mean, come on, if you've had a teenager, you didn't just be like, so listen, did you do this or not? That's mom mode, right? And then they shut down and they don't want to talk to you.
Mhm.
We're trying to ask questions to have a conversation, not to accuse. So those are the kinds of things I would look for because we have to help them see that there are some physical things that need to be done the night before for us to be able to get up in the morning at the time we're supposed to get up.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly important. I think it's also important that people realize so many missionaries, if you ask the movement question, you've talked a bit about movement and even light. Like, did you get
Mm.
outside? Did you get some fresh air? Did you get some light? In many missions, it's dark. If it's a cloud covered area, they don't get a lot of light. And even in their apartment in the mornings, they keep the lights off. And light is really powerful indicator. There's actually sensors behind our eyes that when light pops on, it actually resets with some circadian rhythm. So flipping the light on, are you keeping it dark in your in your apartment? Are you drinking things? I hear so frequently from missionaries that struggle with this. They said, "Oh yeah, well, I move all the time. My mission is a walking mission." And I think it's really important that this can't be the standard walking place to place because their body's already in a pattern of that. And that's not creating the type of movement you're talking about that will affect their sleep.
Well, because they are teenagers or 20-year-olds and they can do a
Mhm.
lot more than walk around all day, right? And
Right.
and there's also something is there's um different exercises do different things to different people. So, for me, when you helped me see that lifting weights is actually much better for me personally than running or walking. It does not really help me mentally to run. And those who do run, I'm like, wow, stop running. But there are different types of exercises that are going to help your missionary dependent on the type of person they are. So
Mhm.
if they're just walking around, that does might not do much, but intentionally, and it can be like body weight lifting, right? Like squats, and it
Mhm.
can be push-ups and things that they could do, anyone can do in their apartments, big or small. But like actually like intentionally working out, not just, oh, I walk around every day
Mhm.
like, my grandma used to be like, "Well, yeah, I exercise. I go up and down the stairs to get things from the storage room." And I'm like, "That doesn't count. Nope,
No.
that doesn't count. You need to do a little bit more." So, having actual, like, I am working out and figuring out is what feels better to you afterwards. Like, is it lifting something or is it running or is it walking? But, being intentional about, like, that being something that you do, not just something that's part of your routine.
Yeah, and I think that movement piece is so huge. Light is a big deal. What are some other questions? So let's say they say, yeah, I'm waking up in the morning and I'm doing my workout after I get up. It's just getting out of bed, dragging myself at 6:30 is miserable. What are additional questions or additional tools that we can go to if movement is happening and they're still miserable?
So one thing I would say is that sometimes this is just how it feels. Like when I started working out at 5 a.m., I never felt like I wanted to, ever. I didn't want to. I did afterwards, but it
Mhm.
took me about a year of doing it to where I was like, "Oh, this is natural and normal to me." So, it's okay if you don't love it.
Yeah,
Like, you
I
just don't have to love it. It doesn't matter. I don't it doesn't matter.
yeah, I think that's so important, Michelle, because as missionaries, there is a feeling that if I'm doing something good and I'm choosing the right, so I'm on a mission through obedience, then I will always feel good. And waking up in the morning doesn't feel good, so something's wrong. And I think it's just I cannot reiterate how important it is to realize that what you just said is so true. Sometimes doing things that are good for us, that are healthy, that are obedient, that are in alignment, they don't always immediately feel good. Our body has established patterns, and especially teenage boys, stay up late, get up late, and suck all of the life of energy while while we're sleeping to 9, 10 hours a day, and shifting that to 7 hours, 8 hours, 10:30 to 6:30 is a totally different animal, and their body's going to throw a tantrum for a while, and they're just not going to like it for a minute, and it's okay.
And it's okay. You're not broken. This is fine.
Hmm.
Another thing, and this is something that my mom always said to me, is everyone needs a reason to get up in the morning, and laundry isn't it. Now, with missionaries, it could be something else, right? Like, and studying the scriptures might not get you up and get you excited in the morning. That's totally fine. You're not broken either. But you need something in your day that you actually are excited to do. There and that feels really hard because you're like, "Well, I it's very prescribed what I do, and I have this other person in my life that follows me around," and that's really hard. But, like, there are things that you could do. Maybe it's drawing, maybe you like to sketch or something, and give yourself time for that, or it's playing a game, or after all of our work's done, then we have this little competition between me and my companion. I don't know what it is, but we need to create some kind of joy that makes us like, "Oh, like, let's get up. Let's do something."
Yeah, that's a huge one that I found is the picture that we hold in our mind of what waking up looks like.
Mm,
When I've asked missionaries that have struggled with this, I've said, what do you think about waking up in the morning? You're struggling with it. What do you think about it? And so frequently the answer is like, well, I hate getting up in the morning. I like my sleep. I'm tired. I've had long days and I'm waking up to do the same thing that I did yesterday. And it just like you said, sometimes the pattern, the routine of missionary work isn't it. We have to go one step deeper and find the purpose or the why. We have to find that reason. I have found no person who struggles to wake up on Christmas morning when they asked for something and they really believe it's under that tree. They don't struggle to wake up to go find out if it's there. And I think there's that why, that passion of maybe it's not the routine. Maybe I'm not waking up because I'm so excited to sit down and study and do my exercise and have my companion inventory and my scheduling for the day. Maybe I'm not excited about that. Could I be excited about the friend that I'm teaching? Could the picture of bringing somebody else to the knowledge of Jesus Christ actually give me a reason to wake up in the morning? I know, Michelle, I used to struggle waking up in the morning too. It was a big deal for me. Like the idea that something before 7 a.m., like the number seven as the first number on the clock, should never be seen more than once in a day. That was my previous belief system, right? And I started realizing to have the life I wanted to have and to have the day I wanted to have, I needed to wake up at 5. And this was a huge shift for me. And I started to realize that the reason why 5 was so hard is because the picture of waking up at
mm,
5 in my head was I'm going to be tired and it's going to be hard and it's going to come early and it's going to be painful. And when I shifted the picture to what I got to do, what it made me feel, like you said, I always liked getting up to work out after. I started realizing that when my alarm went off, the picture that I had to put in my head was the after picture. What does it feel like after I've studied and exercised and I'm ready to go and I feel like I had inspiration and insight for the family that I'm about to teach today? What does that feel like? Because that's the picture I got to start putting in right here when the alarm goes off in the morning. So, my question for you, Michelle, is what picture do you have when it's time to wake up in the morning? What's your picture?
well, it used to be what you said, right? Where I was pretty mad. It's pretty bad that my alarm kept going off at 4:45. And then I realized that after I did it for a while, I
Mhm.
realized that I was becoming the type of person I wanted to become. So I wanted to have more energy. And at the beginning of working out, you actually have less energy, I feel like, for like a month, and then you like start getting more energized. Um, your body's getting into it, you know? And and so after that, but I started feeling stronger. And my mind started like I saw what happened to my day when I did that. Like I was more alert. My mind was clearer. I was focusing on the things that I wanted to focus on. And so I started noticing like, oh, I'm becoming the kind of person I want to become. And so that gave me the incentive to keep going. And so I think that sometimes, I mean, that's why the law of obedience is such a thing, right? Is sometimes you have to test things out for yourself, for you. I mean, a lot of times, because if you're like me, right? I got to test it out. I got to see if it's true. And so test it out. And then I would say, like, what are the things like looking around and saying, what are the things in my life that are making it harder for me to keep this law of obedience of getting up at 6:30? So for me, like me getting up at 4:45 and then wandering around my room trying to find my workout clothes and then my shoes and then my fill up my water bottle and then I'm like, "Oh man, I'm already late." So the night before, I have like a little workout basket where I put my workout shoes always. They're always in there with workout clothes. And then I fill my bottle of water up before I go to bed. So I actually don't have to think about any of that, those things that used to be tripping me up from getting out the door. So maybe look around and say, like, what are the things that I do immediately after getting up that are like causing me a little bit of friction? I hate doing them. They're wasting my time. So I actually have to wake up earlier or whatever your thing is. And see, like, could that just be you have your scriptures the night before, they are open to study, like what you're going to study, and you have I don't know, robe? I don't know. Do you get dressed up when you study? I don't know. I'm not there yet.
Well, most elders are still, I'm thinking, doing the t-shirt, shorts, and the
Okay, great.
tag
I love it.
rather
Okay, I
than
love it.
some are
But
getting up and getting ready
yeah,
first.
I don't know. I don't know. Well, okay. I wouldn't. That's a lot. But like what are the things that you need to do that you could prepare yourself that also mentally prepares you to be like, okay, when I get up, I don't actually have to make any decisions. I just have to get up, go to the bathroom, and then brush my teeth so my companion doesn't die. And then I go and study, right? Like you've taken out all the friction to get you to where you want to be. And that has helped me a lot in like just practically like getting out the door.
Yeah. I love the advice here of the evening routine to set us up for the morning. And I like that also because it does change your picture. It actually gives you the opportunity to create a different picture of what tomorrow is because it's not unknown and it's not confusion. It's known and it's intentional. And so that the equivalent of that workout equipment for elders that I've seen sometimes is actually knowing what they're going to do to work out.
Mm,
A lot of missionaries have companions that don't like to leave the apartment, or perhaps they're in an area where they're not allowed to leave the apartment. Some feel like they can't work out, I don't have workout equipment, there's no place to go, there's no place to be. And we have beautiful little box workouts. Anybody that wants them or needs them, you can let me know. We have two people that have donated their time and energy that are both personal trainers who have created, we call them workout in a box. And they actually are designed for whether or not emotionally you respond to situations in a fight or flight response or a freeze or fawn response. And we built them to be both physically and emotionally regulating. And they are designed to be done when you cannot leave your apartment and you have nothing other than the world around you to use as tools. So, if you knew that you were going to get up and work out and you knew that all the resistance was gone, you knew what you were going to do, that would help. If you had thought ahead of time of what could I study? What family are we teaching tomorrow? And where are we at with them? And what do I need to study? And to your point, even having the scriptures open to where I want to go with that could be powerful. And one more thing I want to bring up on that evening routine that could be helpful, cold water is a
mm,
powerful wake her upper. And we joke about pouring said cold water on one's companion or yourself, right? That, and people think that's what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about the consumption of it. If before you go to bed at night, you can take a glass of water, stick it in the fridge so it's really cold. And when you wake up in the morning, just taking some sips of that cold water, it wakes up. When we go to sleep, we fall into like a rest and digest pattern, and it literally wakes up the nervous system to be hit with that cold. So light, cold water, fresh air, all these things that can, movement that can help wake us up are all little powerful, tangible tools there, and we can prepare for them in the evening before. So love that as a concept. Now, here's a little twist on this that came in as a question along with this is that the question that came in was my missionary cannot wake up in the morning and he feels like he is a bad missionary and he's disappointing his heavenly father because of how hard it is for him to wake up. What would you say for that mother as some direction and guidance as to how she can have this conversation with her elder?
So we're gonna ask some questions again, right? Because not getting out of bed, or should we say like it being hard to get out of bed does not equal you're a terrible missionary. So that was a really big jump, right? Like that was a jump, be like, ugh, I got out of bed at 6:45. I'm the worst missionary. How is that going to set up your day if that's your thought process, right? And waking up, like you and I both didn't want to wake up early. It's
Mhm.
kind of a muscle. I was going to say a skill. I don't know if it's a skill, but it's a muscle that you have to work. And so to know that you, like I said at the beginning, you are not broken. This isn't a thing that is unconquerable. And it does not mean you not getting up does not mean that you are a bad missionary. So I would ask some more questions about like how did he get to that conclusion? Because like I said, that was a pretty big leap. And so he's got some other thoughts going on in his head that are making him feel that way. Now, maybe it's a companion who makes him feel bad when he doesn't get up and says, "You're so lazy," or, "Wah," and is like harping on him. Maybe that's it. Okay, well, let's talk about that, right? But he is owning some ideas about himself because he doesn't get up. So we've got to separate those two problems and be able to say like what kind of missionary do you want to be? Like who are you? Let's not let not waking up define who you are for the day. Let's define who you want to be when as a missionary. So let's write that out. Like let's figure it out. What kind of missionary do you want to be? And then every morning when you get up, I want you to write that down. I want you to write it down. You and I both know that writing it out is very powerful in really, really embracing and embodying that person that we want to become.
What would it look like for you to write out ahead of time someone that was struggling to wake up in the morning? What would it look like to actually write out something that would actually help them reprogram their capacity to wake up in the morning?
So don't lie to yourself, right? You don't have to say, and I love waking up in the morning. That it might be too much of a shock to the system, right? But you could say, you can talk about the person that or the missionary that you get to be when you wake up in the morning, right early. Let's say waking up in the morning gives me time with God.
Mm,
I can read my scriptures and God speaks to me. As I'm obedient to waking up early at 6:30, I'm creating time for God to speak to me so that I can teach and help and serve others. Okay, so that speaks to the identity of who he is, right? Of and his identity with God and that connection. And then it also says, hey, like when you do that, you're able to turn yourself outward and look and serve other people in a different way. And so then it takes it away from I'm the worst, I'm a bad missionary because I got up at 7 instead of 6:30. And now we can say like I am a child of God. I am a missionary who wants to obey the mission rules. And when I do that, I provide space to connect with God and in turn help others.
beautiful. And the power writing is just so powerful in helping us turn that. And love that we address the identity in there as well. And so many missionaries, like you said, it's a big leap to go from I'm not getting out of bed in time to I'm a terrible missionary. And so frequently there's something that has been said,
Mhm.
very often by either themselves or their companion, about laziness or disobedience or inadequacy. And so the power of claiming who they really want to be, what kind of missionary, what kind of disciple of Jesus Christ, and the power in
I
remembering who they are.
I think it was in Sister Runya's talk in General Conference. She talks about like the last question she asked her missionaries when she and her husband were mission presidents. And it was, what do you think God, like, what do you think Christ would say about you? And it was like she's trying her hardest, she's like doing her best, and like, and if you think about that when your missionary is feeling that way, like, because it's real easy to spiral, whether you're a missionary or not. But especially when you've just taken this person who has grown up in an environment like this and you put him clear over here, and new people, maybe a companion that don't get along, and you're stuck together all day,
All the time.
all day,
All the time.
all the time. And it's really easy if you get one, one bad comment to be like, you're right, I am the worst. Right. And
Hmm.
so as you're studying and you're praying, is to ask our Heavenly Father and to think like, would Christ say that about me? I didn't get up, so no, there's nothing else we can do for you, you know? That's not how Christ works.
Hmm.
And so think about that. Like, is is that the next step? Like, no, what would Christ say about me? He would say, "Oh, he's sure trying. If you knew what he like used to do and what time he used to get up, 7 o'clock's pretty great, and he's still working to get to 6:30." And I think that um we think that perfection is the goal, and it's not. It's progress.
Hmm.
And it's a willing heart. And you might need to have a conversation with your companion and say, "Hey, you can't say those kind of things anymore because it's not helping. And I'm trying, and here are some things that you could say or that you could do to help me um, to to be obedient to this rule."
Yeah, we often say on these episodes that it's about intention, not perfection. And one of my favorite talks in conference was actually about church callings and establishing a culture of progression, not performance, and allowing people who need progression to take space and to step into spaces that will push them and challenge them, not expect perfect performance, expect progression. And I think that could is so true of our missionaries as well. Well, Michelle, any final words of wisdom? This has been great, so helpful for our moms and our missionaries out there that struggle with waking up in the morning, which is a common one.
It's okay that this is hard, either wherever you're at, right? This is okay. And I mean, we've been talking a lot about working out and things, and um, I every time I get really discouraged at the gym and I'm like, why can I not do a dang pull up yet? I've been working for so many stinking months. That makes me pretty mad. And then I'm like, oh yeah, where was I a year ago? I'm like, oh, I am light years ahead of where I was a year ago. And if we can just put things in perspective, I think especially as moms, I think one of the big goals is to give our kids a broader perspective, because they are so in their head and they're so in like this is like their world is pretty small, as far as like who, they have specific rules and they have, what they have to do every day. And I think if they can put given some perspective of like, oh my gosh, like look how far you've come, or oh my gosh, I love watching you become who you're going to become, and help them see a bigger vision of themselves and not panic. Like, they need to come to us and find some safety and some peace, right? And so for us to not get in a spiral when our kids are struggling, but to just know that it's okay that this is hard and we're going to figure this out together.
Yeah, we love to encourage our moms that this is our boys and our girls are on missions. And when they go on missions, so do we in many ways. And so one of the things that I would highly encourage anyone out there is If you've never attempted to completely change your bedtime and morning routines,
Mm.
try it. Try it right along with your missionary and find those moments for yourself that are working for you, and even acknowledge the hard. The ability that it gives you to be empathetic and compassionate with your missionaries is powerful. So we encourage everyone to keep your head up, keep moving. Michelle, I'm so excited for you to be a mom of a missionary. It is a remarkable experience. It will, I'm going to just warn you right now, whip up a fresh batch of tears with every primary song that you hear that talks about missionaries and talks about our children. Armies of
Listen,
Helaman is just like, just don't. Just
I
just
know.
just
Listen.
don't with that one. That one I would just leave that one alone
Oh
for
my
sure.
gosh. For the last year, I feed the missionaries. I don't quite as much anymore, but every transfer, they would come over and I'd feed them. I live in California, and every time they would sing. I mean, I was like, listen, you guys don't have to pay me, but you do have to sing "Called to Serve." And then, as I could just sense, as my future missionary got closer, I was like,
Mhm. I know there's primary songs called to serve. Yeah, just watch out for those. Otherwise, enjoy the journey. It's a roller coaster. Your weeks and days tend to ebb and flow with theirs, and we're hoping that these tools actually empower people to step into that space. And as President Nelson said, find joy regardless of our circumstances, always with our focus on Jesus Christ. So, thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us.
Thank you.